Hello and welcome to Jesse and Melva Live. You will see both of us live in just a few minutes, but I'm live right now. Thank you again for joining us and for sticking with us on this journey that we have shared with you, Veronica and Vernon's journey. Actually, it's more of Veronica's journey. And this whole series began with a question that someone sent to us, asking us what to do when trust is continually broken. And so the story of Veronica and Vernon came to mind. Now, Veronica and Vernon, that's not their real names, that's their composite name, but they represent couples that have been through the experience of betrayal. It's not always the woman who has experienced betrayal. Sometimes it's the man, but often it is betrayal in terms of affairs. And Veronica has experienced Vernon having affairs over 2 decades of their marriage. And she got to the point from this last affair that not only was she not going to take it anymore, because she thought about that each time that she found out about the affairs, and forgave him, and then things would be good for a while, and then he would do it again. So Vernon has some decisions that he has to make. So we haven't really concentrated on him. We know that he's doing some work, though. We know that, and but we're focusing on Veronica because it is so important for people to know that if you experience betrayal of any kind, that there's something that you can do about it. You can't change the other person. However, you can change how you deal with it. And so over this series of segments that we've had, we've given you pieces of the puzzle for Veronica in terms of how she has addressed her pain and how she's turned the pain into healing and growth and transformation. A lot of times people believe that they need the other party to be a part of the process. That would be nice if it works. And there's also very important work to be done from the inside out. So we have been sharing with you the inside out for Veronica. And so we took you through a lot of her steps. I meant to include them in the slide for today, but I forgot. However, that doesn't take away from what we're going to share with you today in terms of her next steps. So her next step, because she's got all these pieces in place for her action plan, and so she needs a way to implement the plan, because many times, many of us, me included, Jesse too, can come up with the most exquisite plan for how to move from point A to point B. And what happens is many times our brain is hardwired to stay stuck where we are at point A. And so it takes some support to make the shift and literally rewire your brain. And we'll say a little more about that in just a couple of minutes. And so, so we're going to share with you not only Veronica's plan, because we've shared pieces of that before. She's got her focus for her mental health, for her spiritual health, and for her physical health. So we're going to share that with you. And so the slide that we want you to see right now is she is bridging the gap from where she is to where she wants to be. And here's the thing. It's not always easy. It's just not always easy. Now, I don't know anyone who has navigated that journey easily. It takes work. If the brain was in alignment, it would be easier, but the brain is not. So let's talk a little bit about why Veronica needs a daily practice. You know, I think about Jesse and I did yoga for a short while, and And it was wonderful because we had personal lessons. And so it was just the two of us and our yoga teacher. And it worked perfectly until our yoga teacher got a job and out of town. So we weren't able to do it anymore. But what she taught us in terms of the practice were things that we could do. Because she said before she left our final sessions with her, she said, I want to give you practice that you can do on your own. So she gave us exercises that we could do on our own. And they have been really helpful. Now, practicing, it took a while for me to get into the flow, but now it's a part of my daily life. And the same thing's going to happen for Veronica. But let me just give you some more information about why this is important. One of the reasons is because change is hard. It's really hard. I mean, if it was easy, we would all do it. And we would all do it on a dime. And the reason is what I alluded to before, is because the brain is hardwired to function the way that we're functioning right now. I mean, we learned over time how to cope with life, how to cope with disappointment, how to cope with frustrations and anger. Now, maybe the coping skills were not that effective, but it's all we knew, right? And so to introduce change sometimes, you know, the idea always sounds enticing. The work to for the manifestation takes a little more energy, because here's the things that has to happen. And one of them is that you want to make sure that the goal is, and the brain is in alignment with it, to know that the new behavior, the new thinking brings more peace than pain. And you have to have a big enough why to be focused on having more peace than pain. And actually having more peace than pain is a big why. Would you say that's a big why?
Absolutely.
So it requires changing thinking, because again, the brain is wired for negative thinking. It's wired for catastrophic thinking because we function as human beings on the survival mode, not the solution-oriented mode. So if we're in survival mode, then we become reactive, and it's a knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
And it doesn't work for us, and it doesn't work for the other person. And so, so what happens is, with all of our good intentions, my mother used to say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. See, I'm quoting my mother again.
She'd be proud of you.
She would. She would. As a matter of fact, I told my sister and my brothers this morning during our daily talk, I said, you know, I'm quoting Mama more than I ever have, you know. And I think one of them said, yeah, she would be proud. She would be proud. So what happens is, we have the intention, then all of a sudden something comes up. So we have an excuse. Now the excuse is probably warranted, but when you have excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse, it leads to procrastination. And then at some point, we don't get it done.
Right.
Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I've heard about that. And you know, I'm one of those who has perfected procrastination. And one of the things that I have done and do, I can come with all kinds of reasons why I didn't get it done at the time that I wanted to or said I was going to. And that causes some problems, especially when it's absolutely necessary that you meet certain deadlines.
Well, I wouldn't ask for his testimony, but okay, so you made one fine. But that's a good example. That's a good example of what I mean. Because here's the thing. Here's two things we're going to focus on. The brain is focused on approaching pleasure and avoiding pain. So your why has to be big enough to have enough payoff for pleasure to do something different,
right,
to avoid the pain. or to overcome the pain or to transform the pain. And what that means is, since our brain is wired for survival, then it's important. We don't want to get rid of that part of the brain. We need that part of the brain. However, when we're trying to grow and move forward, we need to give that part of the brain a new job.
Right.
A new job to keep us on focus, to keep us on track, so that we have tunnel vision to move toward the vision and the goals and the objective, and blind spots to all of the distractions.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that Veronica does, and it's something that I do on a day-to-day basis, and it's something that I also share with clients to do as well. And it's a daily practice. And because now we're on that part with Veronica. So her plan is a structured system. And what we learned, and we mentioned that last time, one of the things that we learned about when people are going through something, we mentioned George Land, someone that we learned from years and years and years ago, back in the 80s, who talked about organizational consulting that he did around the world. And the basic template that he used was moving organizations from conflict to structure to creativity. And so in our model, we're using the same kind of template, but we have it from conflict to structure. The structure is a safe place to do what it takes to make the changes, to have the internal support and to have the external support to move forward. A lot of times people can do things on their own, and that is fine. It's more inspiring and more uplifting to have at least one other person to support you along the way.
I'd agree. I would agree.
That reminds me of the mastermind kind of thing. You know, that
Mm-hmm.
mastermind concept of that the big industrial giants had like years and years ago, and how they worked together once a year, went on that camping trip and supported each other's businesses. Um, Ford, Firestone, Edison, and some other folks. So I'm just saying, to have some kind of support. It does, when it becomes a sacred kind of experience with people supporting each other. We really do believe, just like the mastermind that group um, had, that there is a third presence that is present. There's even a scripture about it: when two or more are gathered in my name, because a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
pray when they come together and they're supporting each other.
Right. I just want to add that I recall, um, the mastermind that they had really was a rather small group. It was only three or four people at the most who were members of the mastermind. The reason why I pointed that out was, you don't need to have a whole bunch of people as a part of your mastermind.
Yeah.
The key to the mastermind is that they're all aligned together in one purpose. And sometimes you have more than, say, three or four people. You bring in more people, and there's a potential for conflict among the group. And that is not what you want, because that would destroy the purpose of the mastermind.
Yeah.
So just think now, when you were developing your mastermind, just know you don't need a whole lot of people. Maybe you only need one other person to be a part of your mastermind group. But make it simple, make it effective. So that's what I would contribute.
Yeah, because we had our own mastermind, but we also remember we had our mastermind group, and it was just fine. And then all of a sudden, the group turned into people having other agendas, and we thought,
No,
no, this is
no,
not working the way that we
no.
wanted. But anyway, so Veronica does have a support group, and they are focused on supporting each other as they navigate closing the gap from where they are to where they want to be. So she has this daily practice. She focuses on at least one thing that's going to support her to move forward toward her vision and her goals and her objective. Just one thing. And so I think about, the big question that she asked herself every morning is, how do I want to be today? I mean, the feelings that she wants to have is to feel more peaceful, more hopeful, and more powerful. So there are other things that she wants to feel as well. So it depends on what she's experiencing at the beginning of the day, and she's going into her sacred place. So then she's thinking about, okay, so what am I going to do so that my actions are in alignment with how I want to be? So maybe she wants to be more compassionate that day. Maybe she wants to be more understanding with other people, because we're talking about interacting with other people. We're not just talking about Vernon. We're talking about Veronica developing habits that she can use on a day-to-day basis with everybody. And if it works for her to use them with, well, she's going to bring all of this to Vernon, whether they work this out or not, because she's focused on becoming a better version of herself. So she's getting herself prepared every single day. I know that, a lot of times I see it too, go in the world before you go out into the world, and getting all prayed up before you go out into all that craziness. And so that is what she does in the morning. So the other thing that she does, that she goes out and she has her daily experiences, and we're going to talk about the results in just a moment. So it just takes her, well, actually, she gives herself like an hour, because she's got the physical exercise to do, she's got the prayer to do, she's got the thinking to do, but she gives herself the time. She goes to bed early enough so that she can get up early enough so that she has enough time to have her self-care program in place. And it was something that she knew and did a lot of before she got married. And, sometimes after people get married, it's like they get real distracted with life, so she's coming back to herself and doing this practice. So that's what she does in the morning. And then in the evening, she kind of has a review. She just kind of goes over her day, and then she reviews what happened and how she did. So she's not looking for, in the beginning, she was looking for perfection. Now she's not looking for perfection. She's just looking for progress. And any progress that she made, she is acknowledging that and giving herself credit for taking the steps, especially the new steps. And she also acknowledges if she had a rough time in terms of following through, or if she didn't follow through, she does not criticize herself. She doesn't put herself down. She just says, well, that's where I am today, and it's okay. There's tomorrow. Just like you used to say, the retirement that you failed that first time. And you said, when you get things done, it's like, well, there's tomorrow. So when Veronica did not complete everything she thought she was going to complete in the morning, it was really okay. The fact that she even thought about it and followed through with it even a little bit made a big difference. So that is the plan. And we want to tell you a little bit about her decision making that led to this particular plan. She decided that she wanted to take the road less traveled. So the road less traveled. And I remember, who wrote that book, The Road Less Traveled? I forgot. But the person wrote, that title, he wrote it years ago. That title stuck with me because it is something to think about. The road most traveled is the road that most of us travel on an ongoing basis. The one that takes us into limited thinking, especially when things go off the track for us. The road where we become reactive. The road where we don't have a big why for why we want to be a different kind of person and be a better version of ourselves. So that's one path to take. She decided to take the road less traveled, and that's going to keep her on track to be more proactive, more thoughtful, whether things are going well or not. So that's one part. And to be on the road less traveled is what we mentioned a little earlier, that it's important to have tunnel vision, to keep your eye on the prize and to make sure that you have blind spots to distractions. And if you do have distractions, to say, yep, that's a distraction, I'm getting back on track. And then the other thing is to do whatever it takes to rewire the brain. And here's whatever it takes. Whatever it takes is doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again.
Right.
Because the old behavior we call them bad habits, that didn't work, is something we did over and over and over. It became integrated and a part of who we are. So if we do that with the new behavior over and over and over and over, then it's, first it doesn't feel normal because it's not. But, first it starts off like a ritual. And then when you do it over and over again, then it becomes a habit. And then it becomes a part of who you are, a better version of yourself. And that's what Veronica found out for herself, because she knew that could happen. So that was part of her decision making.
Because you really don't want to. If you're serious about using these concepts, it's important. You're not going to follow them 100% all the time.
Right. Right.
And so it's important that when you find yourself you slipped off the path, not to stay over there and and feel bad for an indefinite amount of time. As soon as you can, you dust yourself off and you get back on your program and continue to move forward.
Yeah, that reminds me of, what happens when little babies, when they begin to walk. And so when they get up off the floor and they take the first step and fall down, I don't know if anybody who will criticize the baby and say, look, you fell down. You should be walking perfectly already. Nobody ever says that. They are so excited that the baby took the first step and then the next step and then the next step. And I think that is one way to be kind to self in this process of moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing that added to Veronica's decision making is that she decided that getting the results that she wanted, because she wanted to feel better, she was tired of being in pain, that getting the results that she wanted was more important than the resistance that she was going to get from the inside.
Right.
So she just knew that that was going to happen, and she allowed herself to recognize it when it happened, when it unfolded, and she embraced it. Mm-hmm. She said that's part of the process. So what we want you to know is what we introduced to Veronica, we introduced to her and the other Veronicas of the world. And, the Verners of the world can also do this too. We introduced what we're calling the 5-day personal growth challenge. Because once you have the plan, you have, and a lot of times people have like really beautifully mapped out and all these pretty colors and that kind of thing. And they just look at them, but they don't implement them.
Right.
So we offered Veronica a 5-day challenge to implement her plan. And so this is what happened when she did the 5-day challenge. Some interesting things happened. And remember, Veronica, just like the rest of us, she's human. So what she did was she was able to start the day in her sacred space 4 out of the 5 days of the challenge. Now that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now she wanted to do 5 out of 5 because she was really geeked to do this, but she did 4 out of 5, which is fine, which is phenomenal. And then the other thing is she noticed, She noticed that she thought more about her vision and her positive intention, at least twice daily. Now that's pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
Vision and positive intention. Because there's something about positive, whatever the intention could be negative, but what we learned from Arnold Patton back in the 80s is what we focus on expands. So she focused on her vision and her positive intention more. Because the idea is to focus on what we want 5 times more than what we don't want. And our brain is wired to focus on what we don't want. So she was successful there. The other thing was she was triggered 3 times during the week. 3 times. So by Vernon, by a coworker, and by a family member. And what happened was she was successful in implementing her plan with the coworker and the other family member. She didn't do so good with Vernon. And just know that's part of the human part. She had 2 successes out of 3. That is significant. That's
Absolutely.
significant. That's what I'm trying to say. Significant. And then the other positive result was she was motivated even more to maximize every opportunity, every moment that she had to embrace her journey moving forward. You know, knowing that there would be setbacks, because growth is sometimes one step forward and two steps backwards. And when you know that's part of the process, then you know that that is normal. That becomes, and that keeps you on track, kept her on track, keeps us on track in terms of moving forward. So, so that's the main thing that we're covering this time, her challenge and her personal growth challenge. And we wanted to share with you why it's important and the results that she had, because we are inviting you to join us in a 5-day personal growth challenge. I was trying to think of another name. You know, neither one of us had a better name, but right now we're calling it the 5-day personal growth challenge, to turn any kind of challenge that you're having. It could be betrayal, some kind of disappointment, some kind of frustration about something, because we're talking about thinking about situations differently and following through differently. So we're inviting you to join us. And if you would like to join us, we'd like for you to send us a note at jesseandmelva.com/contact us and let us know that you're interested so we can send you information about how to get started. So we're really geeked about this. We're going to take the challenge ourselves. Well, I'm going to take it. Are you going to take it?
Yeah, I'm going to take it.
Okay. So
we can't get away with doing nothing that's good that I'm not going to do.
Okay, well, hey. Yeah. So so we hope you join us, and we're going to take another step toward this next time. So this week we're preparing everybody for the challenge, and next time the challenge begins. Yes. So thank you for joining us for Jesse and Melva Live. And we're looking forward to the 5-day personal growth challenge. Just know by next time we may be calling it something else, but that's what we're calling it right now. Take care of yourselves. Take care of the people that you love. We'll see you next time.
Watch Live with Jesse and Melva right here on Solivity TV every Sunday at 5:30 Eastern. Solivity Magazine brings you the best in inspiration on Solivity TV. Check out our new shows. Mark your calendars for Solivity Magazine shows by going to solivity.com now. Welcome to your new you with Aspire by Solivity. Virtual inspiration for your mind, body, and soul. With the help of at-home experts and celebrity guests, Aspire by Solivity provides tools to tap into the passion and purpose that lives within you. Find classes to educate and motivate you, from nutrition to your body and a whole lot more. Oh, take the leap. Start your new journey with Aspire by Solivity today. Sign up now.